Welcome, everyone. I'm now calling this meeting to order. Please stand with us. We'll be led in prayer by Aldermen Gallagher. Please remain standing after that for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Alderman Payne.
Heavenly Father, once again, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, Lord. Lord, we pray for our nation and our world, Lord. Lord, we pray that you would help us to have an end to this deadly virus that's been going around. Lord, we just pray that you would help us with the solutions. Lord, we thank you for everything you've done for us. In your name we pray.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda this evening is the approval of minutes from the January 19, 2021 meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 19, 2021. Any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Second. We have a motion from Alderman Payne, second Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Hoops?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes. That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution to amend Title 13, Section 13.7C2, and that's our off-street parking ordinance. This is the issue that Mr. Tucker brought to our attention. I see he's in the audience with us, and we, as promised, went back and discussed this and looked for a way to, kind of boil that down, make it more clear without jeopardizing any negatives to our property values in our residential neighborhoods. So Nick, would you kind of walk us through that? Nick did some work on that, added some language, and I feel like we got a pretty good solution to accomplish both of those goals.
What we did is authorize or revised it to allow for 13-7C2A, these exceptions to allow for a utility trailer that is 10 feet or less to be parked on the driveway, assuming that the trailer is empty, has nothing in it. So that will no longer, and it's also 10 feet from the street, so that will no longer be a violation. So it would be, and also took out the word major as far as recreational goes, recreational. So just recreational equipment. But if it's a utility trailer that is 10 feet or less, that does not have anything in it, and is parked in the driveway, paved driveway, sort of driveway that's 10 feet from the street, that will no longer be a violation of the code as written. I think that also Rick this afternoon about it. He was okay with that solution as well, and so that's what we're proposing is for the change of the ordinance. It'll still keep in place that you can't have the trailer cannot still be parked in a yard or the street. The only place to be parked is on the driveway, which is 10 feet from the street.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt a resolution from the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Southaven, Mississippi, to amend the city code ordinances Title 13, Section 13-7, as presented on this page.
Second.
We have a motion from Alderman Brooks, second Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion?
So the main difference is, and I guess this goes for every other trailers now, they still have to be 20 feet. The difference was that the utility trailer had to be 20 feet off the street, right? The tongue had to be 20 feet.
Yeah,
And now a utility trailer
that's empty.
that's empty,
Could be 10
less than 10 feet. That the trailer itself is less than 10 feet, but the trailer has to be less than 10 feet 10 feet at least from the street. Okay.
Which to me makes a lot of sense. You're staying with the 20 feet, but you're requiring, if it's empty, where it's not going to have materials in there that are, both cluttered and also would block traffic, that kind of thing. So we accomplish that goal of specifying that it has to be an empty trailer. And it still has to be 10 feet off the street, and then limiting the length of it to 10 feet is also going to, make sure that you don't have large commercial trailers. It's definitely, as Mr. Tucker explained, it's definitely going to be one that's used for personal use, like a lawnmower, ATV, that kind of thing. But it does have to be empty and debris. Does that work?
Free, yeah. I just
Free debris. I made it work.
I like it.
But anyway, I think it's good. I think it's good. I think it accomplishes the goal and still prevents our streets from being cluttered and prevents there from being a negative look, that would be detrimental to property values.
To stay on the same note, on the RVs, I think there's a section where you can check on an RV, someplace, if you're loading your RV for the weekend. Do you have permission, you can bring it in early and load it?
I don't know about that, but I think that would just be a common sense, an assumed thing that it would load.
Drop that somewhere.
I don't recall, you may have, I don't remember anything like that. Does anybody else know?
I don't think there is. I'll talk to that research. Matt will look into it and follow up, and I don't think so.
But it would just be from a practical standpoint, we would understand that if someone is just, taking a few minutes to load their.
Or bring them in, they can come in.
Yes. I've never, no one's ever brought that to my attention as a problem anyway. If it does become that one. Alderman Hoots.
I've actually had a call about somebody saying that they keep their RVs for the summer spot, and then they were getting my wife to get them on the Sunday before going to town. And then when they get loaded up, that kind of stuff, they've actually been over the spot kind of enforcement guys sitting there for me. And they told them that they were loaded up to go out of town this kind of weekend. And they said, and they said you can do that.
Yeah, and again, that's what I'm saying though, I think it would be kind of more like a common sense, practical kind of thing. Does it take 5 days to load up to go out of town? I would think that would be a little bit excessive, so I would think that the ordinance we have in place would be enforced if it's an excessive amount of time. If it were just like a few hours, I mean, they're gonna use common sense, and I certainly understand that someone needs some time to load the recreational vehicle before they travel. But if y'all think that there needs to be, I've never heard of that before, and I would, just my opinion, I just share that. If someone, I think 5 days is excessive. If you got an RV sitting there for 5 days, and that's kind of what the ordinance is there for, to prevent that. Anybody got any?
Question on that. Usually code enforcement, don't they normally give you a warning, start first?
Yeah.
And then they're like, what is it, a 7 day?
Or something like that.
How long do they, I think they give you at least 7 days to fix the problem.
Well, it depends on the problem. Something like that that's as easy as just move the vehicle. It'd probably be a 24 to 48 hour turnaround for them to get it removed. And the only thing I can think of that would be a negative effect of this is how are we going to prove one way or the other? There's a lot of people that argue or if to them say, well, I'm going to kind of spots here, and they come back 2 weeks later.
I keep saying that.
Yeah, we're kind of opening it up to that.
I'm not in favor of that.
Yeah, my guys have said they've had situations where somebody's complaining that non-toxin is clear that they're packing up. And so it's like, okay, as long as it's gone, the next 24, 48 hours is fine. I don't know about the case that Alderman Hicks is talking about, but, I mean, we do use the common sense approach with it. I mean, it's usually clear when you're getting ready for vacation.
Yeah. And like we were saying, I mean, you're just setting it up for people to gain your audience. But anyway, did you want to change anything tonight, Alderman Hoots? Did you want to make a motion? Alderman Hoots? Yeah, we can revisit it, but I don't think it's an issue. I think that, I know that our code officers, they're instructed to do their job and do it in a common sense, practical manner. And like Alderman Payne said, even if there's something there, they're gonna get a notice or a warning first. So I don't see a need to make a change. I mean, that's something we can keep our ears and eyes open if something changes, or if we see it becomes more of a problem in the future. But, we'll keep watching that. But I don't, like I said, I've never seen that before. It's not been an issue from my experience. Okay, so we'll keep our eyes and ears on that, and then we'll move on. Is there any other discussion about this? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for a home-based business ordinance.
This resolution will amend or will add an ordinance for home-based businesses. In the past, we provided a checklist to home-based businesses, and this resolution or this ordinance is based off that checklist with a couple of minor amendments to it. It'll still obviously allow for home-based business, but the main focus is not allowing unreasonable amount of traffic to occur there, not changing the appearance of the home, not allowing for unreasonable a lot of storage of the business. The same things that are basically required in the checklist have been passed out, but this is just putting it in ordinance format. So tonight, I'll just need authorization for this ordinance to go into effect. In regard to home-based businesses, again, it does not affect home-based business that are currently existing under that checklist. It's just giving more teeth to that checklist of making it an ordinance as opposed to just a checklist that was passed out. And acknowledging the reality of the increase in home-based businesses across the city and the country for that matter.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a MOU between our Southaven Fire Department and the Mississippi Department of Health.
Yeah, this MOU is obviously, as the Mayor said, with the Fire Department and the Department of Health. To summarize it in one sentence, it allows the Fire Department to get reimbursed for personnel costs associated with allowing our firefighters and our paramedics to never assist the Department of Health. I reviewed it, Chief Skaggs has reviewed it. He's good with the technical requirements, the legal requirements are good as well. So tonight, authorization for either the mayor or Chief Skaggs to sign this agreement as required. And having answer any questions or Chief Skaggs.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
The motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for budget amendment. Mr. Chris Wilson.
So this is some good news. As we reported, this budget amendment seeks to add $750,000 to your street budget from the Mississippi's FEMA Act. There's a formula generated by the state which sends money to cities and counties based on the population total share of overall sales tax in the state. And when it was derived by the state, they were just estimating a certain number. So we had a baseline estimate for the budget. This doubles that in year two. graduated up. So, this will take, and this money has to be spent in the structure, it can't go toward salaries or debt. So this is seeking to add $780,000. The original budget takes 25, so that's $750,000.
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion?
I think we can find a spot to school.
Already had? No, the streets, I mean, it's a great thing. Again, I praise the legislature for 2018 for the Infrastructure Modernization Act. I mean, this is something that was long overdue. You know, Mississippi was only one of 7 states that did not allow their state to collect internet sales tax. So what they did was, it was a tremendous thing. It was very well done, the formula that they determine how much money each city gets. So it's fair, benefits every city, whether you're a big city like Southaven or a small town. This bill is benefiting everybody, allowing more money to get our streets in better condition. So it's just a tremendous thing. But no, Joe, you know, we have like 3 years in advance, not knowing what the future holds, but we keep prioritizing the streets, so we're not surprised every year. We know what streets need to be resurfaced. So we already had streets that were slated for 2022, that when this happens, we'll just move those up and go ahead and this year we can work on those. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Alderman Burke.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
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 That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for the Southaven Police Department surplus property.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the resolution for the Board of Aldermen, City of Southaven, declaring surplus property.
Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Burke.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for the purchase of vehicles for our Southaven Police Department.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Southaven authorizing the purchase of vehicles for the police department.
Second. We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? I do have one question. What is a resolution in the budget? What is a resolution?
This one is because it's purchased from the mosquitoes, Cerritos. Like they have it.
Oh, just the contract?
Yes, sir, and it's not, so when you purchase a agency like this, it's one of the forms that the statute requires there to be a resolution.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
This is not different purchase for your state contract or benefit of whatever that, this is being purchased from outside agency. The 31/7/13 requires there to be a resolution statement.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Burke.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the FY 2020 continuing disclosure engagement letter.
This engagement is the same engagement we've done the last 5 or 6 years. It authorized Public Snow to work with Chris Wilson on getting the filings for the disclosures for the bond issues that we've done in the past, required by the Security Exchange Commission, and be filed with the EMS system by beginning of March, and authorize the mayor to sign the engagement letter to authorize our firm to work with him, with Chris, if it works out, with Chris to get this filed as required of SEC.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Burke.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our donation docket. This we're receiving money.
Yeah, this is a donation from Taker to the fire department. $500, just accepting the donation.
Mr.
Mayor, I move we accept the donation from the Tanger and South Outlet Shops LLC to the Southaven Fire Department for $500.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? It is. Thank you, Tank. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Burns?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
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 That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the House of Grace donation. This is an issue we talked about a couple board meetings ago. Last year, was it last year or 2 years ago, we were approached by the House of Grace to help out.
It was last year.
Last year.
Last year after we've done our donations.
Yeah. Well, either way, they had requested some help to get them out of the financial bind, which is board voted to help them. We did that. Then when we got to the next budget year, we did not get any type of request from them like we require from all of our charitable organizations. And then after we got into the budget year, we received contact from them asking if their money had been approved. So we were a little confused about that. So the bottom line is they're requesting that amount of money. Do we have the amount in there? What was, Chris, do you have it?
9,000 again.
Okay. So they were in the middle of the budget year. They're now requesting a donation for this year.
This original line, I thought that was supposed to be one time. Am I wrong? If anybody else?
I was under the impression it was a one-time donation
It
as
was a
well.
one-time donation, but everybody else that they support.
Get it under control. That's why the close, balance it out.
Right, they were,
Supposed to be recurring costs.
I think the supervisors, it seemed to me like they were actually bringing in someone, was it Miss Peter Freeze? They were gonna have to look at the books and make sure that everything was, that they were doing a good job at fundraising, and they were gonna look out for the fundraising arm and try to do more fundraising, but they needed help to get out of the red from the communities that were using the House of Grace, which is an incredible asset to the city. It really is. It's not just the city, but all the city.
This goes back to what we did. City of future is the, the nation side of things, private organization, it's all about.
Well, I think it sets that precedent. Those weird things coming on, or you do that way back in July. It's not like this is the first time that they've realized after the budget was said, we should go. So I understand that they can't get that big.
I guess my question is, was it a miscommunication from their part? Was it a misunderstanding on our part? Or was the other city?
Supervisors that communicated with us.
Right. I mean, because part of it was, it wasn't just the city of Southaven they had reached out to. It was all the communities that used the House of Grace, or of the other communities
Well, but here's-
donating as well. Well, I think that's a big deal.
No, I agree with you, but here's my point to that. If you're getting a new fundraising money, you better make sure that you know the city you're gonna start approving budget, so you can start asking for funds ahead of time, not after the fact. So, I think it's a bad precedent. We have the donation coming up here and asking us after we approve the budget. And then we're gonna sit here and nitpick. That's my thoughts. I don't want to open that box.
And in all fairness, I did say this at the last meeting, we had this discussion. They have sent reports to us updated, but that's not a request. And as we all know, we require that someone submit that information during budget approval time for all contributions. We did not get that, but what I'm saying is we did get the update from whoever is helping manage their books, you know, to help them not get in the same tight spot that they were in before. So, okay, so I guess, you know, here we are. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve a $9,000 donation to the House of Grace in the budget?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we got a motion by Alderman Payne, is there a second? Okay, we got a second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any other discussion?
Just a quick motion made pursuant to 21/1965, just matching the national bond organization. They can be given more than 9,000 other entities, I guess. That's the only caveat I would say is the authority we have to do it would just be we would be matching other entities are doing, which I think should be an issue that we can't do.
Well, I guess, actually, I'd like to amend my motion, pending that all the other communities and organizations are donating per the original agreement.
So how are you gonna find that out?
I guess you're just
They
making.
would have to be in their quotes, wouldn't it? They said that we had received their.
No, what I'm saying is they told us when that donation was given in the summer, they were, and I don't know all the details, but someone with the county was going to help them with their books. And they were going to report to all the people that helped them financially get out of that bind. And they have done that. But what Raymond, Alderman Flores is talking about is sending us the financials, excuse me, that we would request from anybody else at budget time for a charitable contribution. That's what we're.
And that update was for that, the remainder of that fiscal
How about amend the motion pending they give us an updated financial report?
But let's take.
Well, I mean, well, we can, but the only thing I would tell you is we've already tabled it once, and eventually, table, are you talking about pending?
That's the last time we tabled it, they were supposed to send us what the answer was.
Chris, would you come up and tell me exactly what, I just don't want to misspeak.
Yeah, I was trying to, so the history, they claim they emailed to Andrea, city clerk's office, their request in July. We can find a record of doing that, so we reached back out, they sent us something. I transmitted to them exactly what we talked about, that when supervisors came up last year, it was a lifeline, one-time $9,000 donation, here you go, save us, we're good. Their organization says, no, that was meant for annual. And they did send an application in after, we do have an application to the extent of any detailed financial statements. I don't know if we have those.
So we did not receive any other detailed financial statements.
So their basic application where they handwrite, they write in grants and proceeds.
We have no record of them sending in that request prior to the budget request.
We did, we did email search for a system.
And they couldn't have, of course, pulled the same email that they supposedly sent. And then they probably thought that they sent.
Well, I mean, again, they said when their presentation was check with the county on the organization list, we just don't have anyone here that's, we're talking to nonprofit, you know, it's just something.
Well, it's not practical for us to go look at every nonprofit organization and ask them, do you want some money this year?
No, it's not.
It's not.
If they're, if we're giving them a lifeline a year ago, you would think they would make sure that they would hand deliver these documents on time for another request.
I think that's a fair request. So are you suggesting that we table it until they provide that, or?
At this point, we're happy.
Yeah. Well, let's don't get off track too much. So what is your motion again, Alderman Payne?
Motion is to approve the donation of $9,000 pending they deliver their financials and which meet the criteria that we've already agreed on, which that other entities are, that they have sound financials and that other entities are still donating. Matching the, I think it was a percentage. I don't know what the percentage was. But that the other cities were still matching the same percentage that was originally agreed on.
But it was several agencies.
Right, there were, and all of it were, they were cities. You know, I think even Coldwater was included.
It was all over North Mississippi.
It was all over North
Yeah,
Mississippi.
It was a large number of different jurisdictions all over North Mississippi that have citizens that use the service.
My point on this is, you know, the
this isn't our money to give away to the taxpayers. We set a budget every year in order to do that. And if we don't do it, then there's no point in us having money. But this board and administration have been very good on sticking with our budget as best we can possible, and that's why our finances are the way that they are. It's because we stuck to it. I don't think there's a single person in this building that would have anything negative to say to this House of Grace for what they do. But at the same time, we have a process for a reason. I think Alderman Flores was right to where if we allow this now, it's just going to open the floodgates for anyone to come in and be like, well, can you help us out? There's no, we would have no reason to tell them that, and then there goes our money.
We completed progress. So do we prorate that $9,000?
If it were my nonprofit and I got a $9,000 lifeline, I would make sure, and double sure, that my documents are in an orderly manner before the timeline was set.
They're claiming they were, we just can't find
I think a lot of the problem with that was that, you know, and it was very admirable for Mr. Bill Russell to come forward and, you know, and try to help them out and get them out of the hole. Maybe the communication was between Mr. Russell and the nonprofit House of Grace as far as the misunderstanding that this was going to be a yearly thing versus this was a one-time thing and you're going to have to reapply.
It wasn't just Bill, it was Mark Mercer too.
Well, Mark too, but what I'm saying, you had, they're not House of Grace. But they were very admirable.
They set up the counter to run.
Trying to help them.
They did. They took over the conservatorship of it. I don't know if they still, I don't know if they still.
Okay, well, just so we don't get too far off track, so I'm gonna rephrase your motion, correct me if it's not right. So if I'm understanding you, you're saying that you make a motion to approve the $9,000 if it's with the same parameters that were on the first donation that we gave back in the summer, and that one included many other jurisdictions also gave the same amount of money. So your motion is to approve that with the assumption that all the other jurisdictions gave the exact same amount of money.
Correct.
Okay. And then
They did.
We don't, just the minutes will reflect, should have 21,965, motion was made on, was made, authorized donation of $900 to the House of Grace. Contingent upon that there being other communities and fees matching the $9,000 specifically as proposed in the Suffolk County the cities are making. That's exactly what I'm saying. That way, you gotta have it that way, because you gotta say, you guys like that statute to show the matching, and it's legally fine to do that. I just want to make sure that's all the numbers.
okay, and then we had a second, Alderman Hoots. Would you like to second that motion?
That's fine.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay, so I have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Rhodes.
No.
Alderman Kelly.
No.
Alderman Hughes.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Guthrie.
No.
No.
Alderman Flores.
No.
Okay, that motion fails. Okay, next on the agenda is authorization for the Southaven Fire Department to apply for the AFG grant. Chief Scallions.
Southern Fire Department is seeking authorization to apply for the current AFG grant. AFG grants come with a 2% cost share. What we intend to do is purchase or apply for 5 cardiac monitors, replace our order cardiac monitors. Total cost of those are $154,000 total. So that will leave us on the after cost share of $15,400.
Got a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion?
Good job, Chief.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, next on the agenda is we have Mr. Robert Lee Long with us. Good to see you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Going to give us an update on the Historic DeSoto Foundation and DeSoto County Museum.
Very well, Mr. Mayor and Board. Thank you all so much for having us here. I want to brief you on something that excites me, and it's been on a long-range goal. Even though Southaven is a younger city, we have a lot of things that go back not only to our Native American times and even beyond. So one of our dreams has been, many of you know what this is, and it's been by our acres area over in that direction. We're thrilled with the fact that on the corn cribs from that Mr. Bridgefort's land that is over there actually predates any other home in the Southern County. So Southaven County has bragging rights that it may have on the earliest structures. Beyond that, which really excites me, is that was the site of Chillahoma Road, which means Red Fox and Chickasaw, so a little learning exercise there, was the site of a Chickasaw trading post. So our hope, and I was very impressed when I was a journalist, and hopefully I look a little more relaxed and younger now that I'll put my pen aside. My wife thinks so. But I reported on what you all did for the Jago community. So what we would do, we would love to have a marker there on Chillahoma. We would have to kind of get permission for any kind of archaeological dig to see if there's anything there, extant after all these years. When Mr. Roger Quartz and I talked about this a couple of years ago, there is off-street parking, so there would not be any kind of liability of people parking on the street should we decide. But the most wonderful thing is, and if you look at it, it's been there all along, that sunken road, that is part of the Chickasaw Trail. And there are some old maps that show that a major Chickasaw trading post was right there. And as you know, Chillahoma goes all the way up into Memphis. But, and I live, just incidentally, we moved to the Southaven area, so I can truly say I am thrilled. We're fast growing, moving, the state's third largest city, but we have a chance to document this whole Chickasaw Trail. So really, there will be discussions, I hope, with the mayor, you all, of course, how do we proceed as far as historical marker, meeting all safety kind of requirements, but just from a historical standpoint and a tourism, we bring in people, as you all know, from all over the world. And we can show you those numbers. So we kind of have this tourism. But I would be remiss in not pointing out you all have been faithful and founding partners with us for 18 years. And we have wonderful things. I love what you've done here. We've got an empty showcase that I'm just waiting to bring up here. We have blueprints in Southaven's founding way back in the late 50s. And those are artifacts that we can put out on loan, have a traveling exhibit. We are a countywide museum. Yes, we're based in the county. But we tell Southaven's story, we tell all the branches' story. And now that I am knocking on the door of Southaven, I live right across from the mayor. I want to continue to tell Southaven's story. And it is, I can't tell you how much I love what I do. I truly love what I do. And I hope that excitement shows. And so the blessing would be for the board, to explore this, any kind of easements, anything that we would need to be able to get in a short form. Kind of like what you do with Jacob. I don't know, wasn't privy to what I did, but we want to get the ball rolling. COVID kind of set us back. Most of our kinds of people were working from home. So everybody's back on track now, they inform me. But thank you for your support. We could not exist without you all. We had to shut down from June until April until June to kind of build some protective barriers and do all those kinds of things. So lost a little bit of tourism traffic, but we are doing all 90 to nothing now. Thank you so much for your continued support. School children from Southaven. I promise I wouldn't talk too long. But they said don't talk too long. There's so much to tell you. But school kids from your schools come down to the museum. And we go out to the schools too. Not just the schools, but Care Chills, the little church. Every year that we go up there, but just thank you. We are all, our board of directors, I know Mary and others serve from the Southaven area as official. We're so appreciative. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your leadership personally. Thank you all of you for your support. And Whitney, I look forward to kind of working with you, grant-wise, whatever we can do to kind of pursue this. But again, we're so appreciative.
Well,
Got any questions?
I'll just say I thank you for what you're doing as well. You're perfect for that job. I think I've told you that when you moved there, and so I'm glad that you're doing that for us and for our city, and I appreciate the passion that you have in honoring our past. And I do have one question. If I tell someone to take a right turn on Red Fox, will they know what I'm talking about?
Well, I don't know, there's lots of these that are, that's a good point. And that's, we've actually had lessons in Czechoslovak language and Choctaw language too. But that's a good point. I don't know, maybe we could put a little parentheses on Chihuahua and turning on Red Fox.
Yeah.
There's still dens of Red Foxes, as you all know, all around us. Aptly named was. Again, as my congregation, the whole church would tell me, Robert, say the benediction and sit down. So.
Does anyone have any questions for Robert?
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you
all
so much.
again, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is our planning agenda. Ms. Whitney Cook.
Yes, our first application is a design review application in the South Crest medical area. It is going to be on Lot 5A, which you see highlighted in red there. What they're proposing is a 3-story general medical office with an expansion wing, one-story expansion wing for Cancer Institute on the back of it. You'll see basically a rendering right there. We really have no comments regarding the building. The back of the building, a good asset for that area. We have some minor adjustments on the lighting and landscaping. They've agreed to all of that. So with those changes, Planning Commission recommended approval.
Mr. Mayor, move we approve item number 1.
On item 1, we have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Item number 2 is a subdivision application. This will be for Lot 9 of Silo Squares commercial area, 2.366 acres. Going to be north of May Boulevard, obviously on the west side of Catwell. We had a couple of things to address in terms of a setback issue and providing a legal binding egress, so it wasn't landlocked. He's agreed to that. He's got the paperwork ready for recording on that. So with those changes, it was recommended for approval.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve item number 2 on the planning agenda as presented tonight.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
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 That motion carries.
Item number 3 is a subdivision request to revise Lot 493 of Deer Chase subdivision, Section J. And basically what they're doing, you see it highlighted in red there, on the back side of that property, it kind of goes to a point up against Nail Road. There was an agreement between the developer and the property owner behind there at some point in time that property would be squared off, so Lot 455 behind it could take that property. They did work out a deal between the developer and that property owner, so the plat that you should have, yeah, right there. There's a triangular piece on the back side of that. That is the property that we're going to subdivide out with the intentions of granting that over to the property owner, Lot 455. The stipulation we put on that is right now, we can either put something in the warranty deed where they have to be sold together, but we finalized the approval that they will have to merge the 2 lots together so it is clear in title. The developer and the property owner agreed to that, so Planning Commission voted unanimously in favor of it.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item number 3 on the planning agenda as presented tonight.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. I do have a question. Obviously, that was brought to their attention that they're going to have eventually that's going to be a high-profile corner right there.
Well, this is down. This is at Russellton Drive and
Right,
Nail
I'm
Road.
familiar, but eventually,
Mhm.
Nell Road will probably be extended through. So
Sure.
my question is, they're aware that as far as the maintenance of the property, this is not going to be like an ag piece of property where the grass grows. They're going to be
No,
responsible.
both of them are single-family residential lots platted with this subdivision. So what you'll see on that side will just be an extension of that fence.
Right, but they understand that they'll be responsible for the maintenance.
Yes, what the plan is he's going to take down his back fence line. He's going to incorporate it back into his backyard.
Okay.
So he'll be mowing it just like he would the rest of
Okay,
his backyard.
okay. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Jones.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
The next application is subdivision application for 4.54 acres north of Rasco, basically at the end of Coventry Drive. If you're familiar with where the old skate park used to be, there's a road just to the east of that, Coventry Drive. It goes up and extends to the north approximately 500, 600, 700 feet, and then it just stubs out into a vacant piece of property. The vacant piece of property is what is under proposal for development. It's R9 zone, which keeps it at 9,000 square foot minimums, and what the applicant has proposed is to take that stub out, extend it into a cove, add 10 additional lots, ranging in size from about 11,000 square feet up to a little over half an acre. The discussion came up with the planning commission on the square footage of the houses, so they took an average of Carriage Hill houses, which is set at 1,700 square feet. That was the stipulation planning commission put on there. The other stipulation, we just found out over the past few months that not only new subdivisions, but also sections of existing subdivisions that are now new must have the community mailboxes. So one of the stipulations placed on this is they've got to provide common open space on one of the lots, preferably, I think it was lot 10, to provide that community open space. Right there, it would be on the left-hand side, the really odd-shaped one, taking out that corner piece down there and actually providing common open space there to put the mailboxes on that location. And finally, the applicant had come in with it named the Samaya subdivision. This is the natural extension of Coventry Drive and Carriage Hills estates. So we're requesting that they take the next alphabet letter that follows suit in Carriage Hills, which would be Carriage Hills Section G, and then changing the lots from 7 to 790 through 800 to conform with Carriage Hills. But it is compliant with zoning and subdivision regulations, so it's recommended for approval with those changes.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve item 4 on the planning agenda as presented.
Second. Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion?
I do have one question.
Yes.
Being that this is butting up against those apartments right there, are they planning on having a fence line or something, some sort of barrier?
At this time, no, it's a straight subdivision, so normally when that happens, single-family residential will normally put up their own lot, their own fence. You can obviously stipulate that. We usually do that in PUDs, but it was not proposed with the straight subdivision. Would you want it all the way around, required for all the way around, or you just saying the west side? And the north side's got the school system, the north of it. And quite frankly, the east side probably has an existing fence line from the street over from it. You have houses backing up there, so we probably want to exclude the east side simply because you may be doubling up fences or replacing somebody's existing fence. You get into property owner rights on the fencing side, but to the north and to the west, we could certainly do that stipulation.
I just know that residents in Coventry have asked if there could be some better fences or stuff, just for people coming from that area as well. Talking about one of the things.
I mean, it's a stipulation we can put out there and let the developer know.
What's the terminology, the planning terminology?
We're just going to put the stipulation that a 6-foot site-through fence be installed around the west and the north perimeter of the overall subdivision.
Did you make that motion? Okay.
Would that be something that the builder would be responsible for?
Yes.
Okay, so we have that, Robert, our second, would that be your motion?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a second on that as well, so that would need to be added with, that needs to be added for the motion.
My next question, come 15 years from now, or whenever the fences or deteriorate or fall apart or kick in, who will be responsible?
That will be the private property owner.
It will
Property
become part of the
maintenance.
private property.
Yes.
Okay.
And the
I
property
know in the
maintenance
past,
code
when
could
we've had
address
issues
that.
like that, the property owners are like, well, they put that fence up.
Right.
Is there a way
And then they
we,
don't replace it.
is there a way we can specify a little nicer fence than just a wood fence? Or
I mean, you
The
can,
details.
this board can specify whatever fence you want.
Kind of that separates the lots.
Both lots or so.
I mean, it's kind of like my backyard. You know, develop with that fence, that's.
That one's, yeah, that one's a little larger.
So, I ain't talking about, sorry,
Like I said, our property maintenance code addresses dilapidating fences, so if it does become an issue, code enforcement can actually go out there to the property owner and say you need to repair your fence, so.
Is there any other discussion on the floor? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Burns.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hicks.
Yes.
Alderman Gaines.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Okay, our final application is a single lot commercial subdivision lot on the northeast corner of Church Road and Getwell Road. It's 2.35 acres. The developer actually purchased the entire 15-acre site. We approved a conditional use on this site for a C-store with additional retail space. We also approved the design of it looking a lot like what's on the Nail and Getwell Road corner in the Chop House area. So all that's been approved. This is just solidifying the boundaries of that lot. So it is one single lot. The only adjustment we had is that we're showing a 15-foot streetscape for landscaping and design, and we had them increase that to the required 20 feet. Otherwise, it was compliant and it was recommended for approval.
May I make a motion to approve item number 5 on
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Wheeler, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Burns.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hicks. Alderman Gaines.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman
Yes.
Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is our mayor's report. First thing, need a little bit of business. It failed to make the agenda. Y'all are aware of this issue on our street resurfacing plan. We have 2 streets in this year's budget that have to have a process called reclamation. Dan Cordell has reviewed this with us in the past. The reclamation is due to a poor subsurface. So Collins Road between Getwell and really the main entrance to Lake St. Nicholas. Yeah, Marshall Louise is the first one, but I think it goes in first. But anyway, that section of road was overlaid about 3 years ago, and it's already, it's failed. I mean, the road is horrific, and it's just, again, due to the subsurface. A lot of these roads were built back when the housing market was booming in the late 90s, early 2000s, and the city didn't have eyes on the ground to check the thickness of the subsurface, so we're paying the price for that now. So anyway, it's got to be redone. It's got to be reclaimed. We had the same situation that's on Rasco west of Tullahoma before you get to the extended area from Rasco. We got some failures in there. Same thing there. That street was built to be a subdivision collector street, not an arterial road. Y'all may recall that about 5 years ago we extended Rasco from Sweeney to Tullahoma, and so there's a tremendous amount of traffic on that road now. And just in that short amount of time, again, it was resurfaced probably 4 or 5 years ago, but in that short time, the roads failed. It was terrible. And so these 2 roads have to be reclaimed. When we did our contract with Lehman Roberts, it was about street resurfacing, but there was no reclamation part in that contract, so we're going to have to rebid that to get that done. So what I'm asking you tonight is authorization to advertise to rebid for a street reclamation contract.
So moved. Second.
You got a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Burns.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hicks.
Yes.
Alderman Gaines.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman
Yes.
Flores.
Yes.
And that motion carries. Another issue that came up since we set the agenda, we have to designate a hazard mitigation representative for our regional hazard mitigation plan, and we've not done that. So basically, Chief Scallions is recommending that we name Chris Olson, who's the director of the DeSoto County Emergency Management Agency. He's recommending that we designate him in So I need approval to do that. We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Well, he's the official director in the county, so I would assume that he would be probably everyone's on the day. Makes the most sense to do it since he's the director. Chief Scotty's, Alderman Flores had a question, but he
Sure.
also is it likely he'll be the designee for other municipalities in Suffolk
Yeah,
County?
and prior to him being August was there, he was going to be for the city of Southaven prior to.
Does anyone have any other questions for the chief or any other questions? Hearing none, let's do a roll call.
Yes.
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 Yeah, that motion carries. Then another, just a quick update on the next agenda. We're going to be ready to award a bid for fire station number 5. We had to have time for the architectural firm A2H to review the bids, go through them like we always do with their diligence to make a formal proposal to us. That'll be on the next meeting. Until then, the good news is that we did have several. We had a lot of bids. I think we had 9 total bids, and then we had several that are significantly under budget. So we don't hear that a whole lot. So let's celebrate that. We got some bids that are under our budget. So it's really good news, and we got all the final details wrapped up for us in the next meeting. That's all I have this evening. Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is our personnel document.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the personnel document.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion?
I noticed, 4 years, so.
Wow. Don't know what that means.
Will you get in there long?
Okay, is there any other discussion about the docket? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
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 That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our city attorney's legal update.
Two items. First item came in yesterday. I need approval for all variants for the student house for 2021 for the Rainford wedding.
Okay.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
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 That motion carries.
And then next, at the previous meeting, we awarded the tactical uniforms, the EEP as the low bid, but at the time it was specified with a link to the contract, a link to the bid. So tonight, just authorization for that bid, and those prices will be accepted for 1 year.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is our utility bill adjustment docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the utility bill link adjustment docket as presented on the state.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
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 That motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have 2 claims dockets.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve claims docket number 1 in the amount of $3,999,122.44, including demand checks.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
That motion carries. Is there a motion for docket 2?
Mr. Mayor, move we approve docket number 2 in the amount of $16,245.40.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion for docket 2? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
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 That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the purpose of determining the need for executive session. Got a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Gallagher. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The need this evening is claims and litigation against the Southaven Police Department and the city in general, Southaven Police Department personnel, and economic development within the city. So is there a motion to declare executive session? So moved. We have a motion by Alderman Wheeler, second by Alderman Kelly. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The mayor and board will now enter